My name is John Nash. I'm currently the president of the Florida Tree Farm program. I'm pleased to be out at the tree farm of Albert Fuller. He's the Tree Farmer of the Year for 2022. Big things come in small packages, and what I found out was Albert Fuller's tree farm, 60 acres, and in order to cover all of the bases of the tree farm program, we have to cover wood, water, wildlife, and recreation. And it was kind of a daunting task for us to figure a small farm that covered all of those points of light. And Al Fuller's farm is actually a very good representation of what can happen in a small package.
You know, I have to say that forestry has been in my blood for a long time. My great-grandfather owned the first piece of land for the family here in Levy County. He was freed as a slave in the early 1850s. And when he was freed, he was set up in business. He ran a freight business from Cedar Key to Gainesville. But in addition to that, he started buying land, and he probably bought his first few tracts well before the end of slavery. After that, my grandfather continued to buy larger tracts of land. I used to love to come out and just ride through or walk through much of the land that he had. He had it in timber. He had woodland cattle on the land. He raised hogs and various other things, but that kind of attached me to the land. The land has improved from the time I saw it as just a piece of land with various hardwoods and some longleaf pine on the property, to where now it can be accessed from a number of different areas. I have probably about 3 to 4 miles of road through the property. I can access all of those different areas of the property. I've made it productive to where it can grow various things, anywhere from sugarcane, vegetable crops, and the like. There have also been improvements in recreation areas that I can work with a number of different people on. I want to also say that we use this farm in recreation also with teaching shooting. We have a group of women that come out, and many of them have shot their first shot out here on the farm. And of course, we also do young people, or work with young people in both shooting as well as bow and arrow or archery. And probably a couple of the more fun things is that my family uses this farm as a site for family reunions. And so it's something that serves us well in addition to just growing trees. But also I'm excited about the planting of longleaf pine. That's something that where that original 20 acres was just a stand of turkey oak, as well as blue jack, and then of course some sand live oak or whatever. For that particular 20-acre tract, it's been put into longleaf pine, and it's another way of making the land a little bit more productive for the years to come. When I first looked at the land, I came out, looked at it, walked over it, and I saw animals that I hadn't seen for a while, like the fox squirrel. And this property has an abundance of fox squirrels. And then I started to see other things because the wild turkeys started to invade me in a big way. I usually take maybe 1 or 2 a year, because my neighbors and I agree that the bigger value in wild turkeys is not so much in the meat, but in insect control, because they can eat a ton of insects, especially with my son and his pasture. The army worms come at a particular time of the year, but the young turkeys are there, and they are excellent at controlling. And then the wild turkeys actually go through my vegetable garden and eating grasshoppers and various other things. So I see that as a great benefit. This is the sandhills, and so we have a limited amount of water, but we have 3 wells on the property that supply water for various things like drip irrigation on things like sugarcane and some of the vegetable crops. We also use water for the livestock, and just it's a way of providing water where we don't have a natural source of water on the farm. We made it somewhat economical by using solar panels to actually provide the energy for the farm. Drip irrigation is another way of managing, and there's some value to drip irrigation from the sense that you put the water right on the plant. You don't water the middles or the rows. And so those weeds have a tougher time growing. You know, as I learn and as I grow, there are a lot of things that can benefit me, even with my values, like not using chemicals on the farm. Prescribed burns have been one thing that have been very beneficial in making sure that I cut down on the number of invasives, a number of other undesirable plants. You'll see some places out in the planted pines where I've started to mow. Trust me, mowing is not an easy job, and getting out all of the things that are invading my planted pine operation. But it's something that, because of my values, it takes a little bit more time and a little bit more effort rather than using herbicides to take care of many of those things. I've learned a lot, and the people that have come along to help have been a real big benefit to me in my knowledge base, along with things like the publications that's put out by UF and the like. NRCS, FWC, Florida Forest Service, the Land Stewardship Program, all of those programs are of benefit only if people use them.
I'm Chris Demers. I'm the Extension Program Manager at the University of Florida IFAS School of Forest, Fisheries, and Geomatic Sciences. I run the Florida Land Steward Program, which provides the educational, communications, and networking framework for the Florida Tree Farm Program. So Florida's Land Steward partners, which include Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, the Florida Forest Service, University of Florida IFAS, the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. All of these partners work together to provide educational services, assistance programs, technical assistance, and financial resources to help landowners like Mr. Fuller to actively manage their land resources for multiple benefits. And those benefits include the 4 points of light of the Tree Farm Program: the wood, the water, recreation, and wildlife.
I have to say that my family has a rich history on the land and using land, and somehow it's in my blood, and I'm excited that it's also in my children, grandchildren, and starting to be in my great-grandchildren's background as well.